All of it. Okay, today I'm refuting Stella Yang's claim of fact speech about genetically modified organisms. GMOs are a danger to the food supply. Now, I'm stating that GMOs are actually not a danger to the food supply. They're just kind of like Mother Nature on fast forward, just like in any evolution with people, plants, animals. The strong survive and the best genes will move on to the next level. So GMOs are actually just mixing plant species and taking the best genes to fast forward, make plants bigger, make animals bigger for us to eat or to use as everyday resources. Mixing plant species is how we got papayas free of viruses, corn plants that survive droughts, soybeans that stand up to weed killer, potatoes that don't bruise, and crops that yield more and cost less for us. Also, soybeans whose fats have been changed so they're more like olive oil can be turned into a hearty, healthy replacements for oils and trans fats, more heart tolerant and better for cooking. Also, some biotech companies are doing experiments trying to boost up omega-3 fatty acids, like what we get from salmon, which everyone's kind of on the health kick now. These essential fats help prevent heart disease and stroke and may protect against cancer. Now, what you stating is GMOs are the cause of a lot more allergies. Stated that 50 million people in America actually have food allergies. Well, that's really a small amount when you think about that there's over 325 million people in America alone, and 15 million have food allergies, is only about 3%. Now, out of that 15 million people, about 30,000 people go to the ER a year for allergy symptoms, and only about 150 to 200 people actually die. Now, that's not just from GMOs, but that could be from crustaceans and tree nuts, things like that. Also, I wanted to clarify, Ms. Yang had stated that Tiangelo is due to genetic modification. Well, it's actually just from mixing species and crossbreeding, which that was introduced to us, a Tiangelo, which is a tangerine mixed with another fruit, was introduced to us in 1931 from Orlando. So that was back before even GMOs were happening. We've been mixing types of fruit and plants to create different types of foods and species. Also, I wanted to state that she talked about pesticide exposure. Now, back in 2005, there was a research study according to Graham Brooks and Peter Bradford. Actually, GMOs were reducing the use of pesticides about 40% to grow transgenic crops. Also, another article created by the members of the Department of Agriculture, Economics, and Rural Development stated that it was reduced by 37%. So if you kind of average them out, we're doing a lot better on the pesticide use to keep our plants growing. As I stated earlier, that GMOs have allowed us to be growing healthier plants, healthier corn, healthier potatoes to last through maybe cold winters or drier times such as we're now during the drought. Also, I wanted to clarify, she had stated about a man named Sam Spitz, who he had a supposed allergy from a Caesar salad, and he was one of the rare kind of exceptions. He was actually only 15 years old, and he got sick. They weren't sure from what, but what he was diagnosed with was actually called Campylobacter, which a lot of times comes from undercooked chicken or meats and chicken juice, maybe left on the table from cutting or cooking or mixing things into your food. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't used as a GMO chicken that day. Also, part of the article, which Sam Spitz states, is that the antibiotics wouldn't work on him, so it took him about 30 days for him to actually recover from it, which caused him to lose 30 pounds. Now, that could be part of the GMOs because chickens are fed feed that's actually GMO produced, so they grow faster and cook, and it helps become immune from antibiotics, which he states in there. But also, Sam Spitz went on to become a football player. He said he wanted to become, get into something that made him feel invincible. So he played at Wisconsin UW, and that's a lot more violent sport than MLB. So he didn't lose his chance to play professional sports or go on to play college. He actually just chose a different path, which was actually a harder path. What he had is very rare. It usually just causes diarrhea or causes stomach discomfort, which goes away in 2 to 3 days. It's normal. I'm sure a lot of us have felt that. So to round it up, I believe GMOs are actually a lot better and safer. A lot of the stuff that was stated in the GMOs are a danger to food supply were very general with not very many statistics. And there were short answers that didn't get into specifics, so it kind of made people believe like that GMOs are bad for us, but as Delegating also mentioned, we've been already eating those for 90%, and it's only about 15 million that actually have those food allergies. That's a very small amount because our population is continuing to grow.
All right. Well, I know what the subject is, and I know that you've got a counterclaim, but I don't know what the arguments are that the advocate presented to support their particular position. You cite those very indirectly. We never get their exact claims, and there's no preview of those sorts of things, so the structure is a little bit complicated to follow. I did like the idea that you kind of explain what genetic modification is and suggest that it's not any different than things that we've done in the past. That's a way to try and mitigate the fear that people might have of GMOs in general, but it's not particular to any of the arguments that the advocate presented. The first time I get a reference to something specific that the advocate presented concerns allergies, and I suppose that their claim was that GMOs create or enhance or somehow exacerbate the degree of allergic reactions that people have. I assume it was their evidence that said 15 million people, and your analysis is that it's, God, it's noisy in here. Your analysis is that it's 3% of the population, and so it doesn't really seem like it's that significant. One of the things that I think might be appropriate to talk about here is whether or not this has been a change in the rate of allergies over time, because if that's pretty standard, 3% is the number of people who have allergic reactions to anything, and it's been that way for 100 years or 50 years or the last 30 years, and it's got nothing to do with GMOs, then I think that might be a way to advance that particular point. On the second point, on the pesticide issue, again, I don't remember exactly what the advocate's claim was. You've got a counterclaim here that basically says that this is going to result in decreased pesticide use. I assume that that's generally a good thing, although there's never any explanation in your argument about why it's a good thing. The idea is that the plants will be healthier and will have I guess more availability or some other advantage here. I think that was a little abstract, and I think it's important at this point that you do tell us what the advocate's argument was there. The Sam Spitz issue, I assume that's an example that they provided, and you're contradicting that particular example. I don't know whether or not the example was supposed to apply to the allergy argument or to some other argument that's being presented, because it seems to be standing on its own. I thought your response to the argument seemed to be pretty good, although you want to give us the source citations on this sort of thing. I guess that the advocate implied that there was an end to his athletic career, and you're in essence suggesting no, that there was simply a change in what direction that athletic career took. So I think that that's a good counterclaim if that is in fact what the argument was that the advocate presented. But again, I don't get much of a summary of what their position was. So these arguments feel a little bit out of context without providing us the a quick summary of what it is that was presented on the other side. All right, thank you.